I was a narcissist perfectionist or something to that effect. I don't know. Oh, my gosh. So,
well, no wonder we get along.
Yeah. Huh?
No wonder we get along.
Yeah, well, I'm continually asking though, did I get it wrong? What am I not seeing? I went to general counsel and I said, I got a problem. These guys are rewriting my reports, and they're altering evidence, and they're testifying on stuff they don't know anything about. And the lady said to me, if you just understood the law. And so I said, well, okay. She says, this is. So I applied got a seat at Georgetown, went for 4 years at night while I was an FBI agent during the daytime. And when I graduated, I went back to the same lady, and she said, you got to practice law. What you get in law school is just theory. So now I practice law. And you know what? I still can't figure out why people think that they should lie in a court of law. I can't figure that out, especially FBI agents. I don't know. I probably hold them to a higher standard, probably too much of a standard. But I still don't get it anyhow.
Well, besides like the psych evaluation and trying to take your gun away, and was there like rank and file, like you didn't hang out with the other guys and you didn't get along with the other guys, that kind of stuff too?
No, I didn't. I didn't push people away from me.
Okay, good.
I have very, very good friends at the FBI. That, in fact, and we had long discussions, even once it hit the news in '95. One of my fellow scientists at the lab, Chris Fiedler, who passed away recently, he said, Fred, the veil of culpability spread too far. You got a tiger by the tail. It's not going to let you go. Because everybody up the chain knew what was happening in the lab. Goodness gracious. They all knew all the way up the chain. And so, no, I got along fine with the guys I was working with.
Okay, now, did you ever run across any guys that were like really rogue agents, like, stealing evidence and, shaking down, taking bribes, anything like that?
You say, did I see that sort of thing?
Yeah.
No, sir. No, there was, travel vouchers, time and attendance sheets, minor kind of, but whatever, you're still a damn thief. Excuse me, you're still a thief, okay?
Yeah.
But shaking people down, no, that's, I remember as a new agent, I was in Houston, and I went into a house with a training agent, and we were looking for this couple's son, and they were just folks. And they sat there on their sofa. It was a little ranchette. I was brand new, and they sat there on their sofa, and they were crying, and I was sitting there with them, and just 35 years old myself, and I was trying to comfort them. And the other agent went through the house looking for the son, and they gave him permission, and he didn't come back after a while. And I went in, and he had tossed the whole house. I mean, he pulled stuff out of drawers. He'd gone and thrown stuff out of the. And I said, man, you're looking for a human being. There's no human being in the drawer. Hey, they gave me permission to search. I'm looking. Mm-hmm. And I went, wow, wow. But they weren't shaking people down. It was just very, very disappointing. These are human beings that we're dealing with. But as a regular thing, no, I didn't see that.
What about like wiretaps without warrants and stuff like that?
No. I had a friend that came upon warrantless wiretap and tried to tell a judge about it, and he was an FBI agent. And when the judge blurted it out about 3 years later, they ran him out of the bureau for doing that. But I didn't see warrantless wiretap. That wasn't. I was disappointed maybe by what you might consider small stuff, stealing money from your travel voucher.
Well,
and I know I keep mentioning that, but it's still stealing.
Yeah, well, and lying in court, I don't consider that small stuff at all.
Oh, well, that's right. Testifying beyond your expertise, you don't know what you're talking about. and you're talking about it. There was one gentleman that testified with a background in social sciences, testified aeronautical engineering, aircraft structural analysis, forensic pathology, fire and arson investigation analysis, chemical analysis, and metallurgy. And he had no background in any of those.
Really?
Forensic pathology, no background in any of those. When the inspector general asked him, well, where'd you get your expertise? Let's try forensic pathology. He said, well, I talked to a pathologist at the crime scene. Therefore, I know more than the normal person on the jury. Wow, and he got all that wrong too. So that slanting of the truth, and it was at the time what I saw, that was a rogue unit. They were people. They were not scientists. They were brought in as fixers. That was how I felt about them. If you weren't getting the right answer out of the lab, send these guys that don't know what they're talking about, but will do what the bosses want them to. And the blame, the responsibility for what happened at the FBI crime lab went all the way to the management. It went to the management, allowing blatant, open, vulgar, inappropriate actions to continue unabated. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the news lately, but the FBI admitted that 26 of 28 examiners doing hair analyses testified inappropriately for 30 years in 95% of their testimonies. Wow. That's 26 of 28 guys, and they weren't all there at the same time. And now they're having to try and figure out how to fix that. But they had, lead analysis that they had no scientific basis for the lead analysis, and yet they were out there testifying to some horrendous stuff that was outlandish.
And so, do you think it's worse today, or has it gotten better?
Oh, that laboratory is light years ahead where it was before.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so proud of where they are. We're going to find fault with them. We're going to find fault with any human enterprise. But at this point, they're bent over backwards to validate their protocols. That means you have a method that you use to determine the answer to a question. You have to know if the method works, and they're bending over backwards to do that. I don't think they've quite got there, but, I'm not the wall. I'm just a brick in the wall. But the thing that they're lacking right now is that they should be putting their protocols on the Internet. What they're doing is not new science. It's not secret science. It's not, it wouldn't be any national security issues about, just here it is, here's what you've done, this is what you know. The state I'm in, North Carolina, should be used as a national model as far as I'm concerned. You can go to their Department of Justice website, bring up all the protocols we're using in that lab. We can interact with a lab and say we think there are issues here. If they agree, or we can have scientific discussions, it's the way it ought to be. Put it out there. This is science. It's sort of, you might look at the FBI like, oh my goodness, we're using a gun, but we don't anybody know how we use it. Okay, why not? It's a weapon. It's well, the things that they're doing, the tools they're using in the lab should be understood. If you're going to find an answer, we should be allowed to look at what you're doing, because it's not them. They're not the nation. We are the nation, and we should be allowed to determine whether we're being defended or not, whether we are being protected or not. But that is a weakness they've got. But I think that ultimately they're going to realize they're not doing a bad job. Put it out there. Let the world see what you're doing. And it's not going to make any difference for terrorism or bank robbers or something like that. I mean, you can't even get FBI managers to understand what's going on in their lab, much less terrorists.
Or defense attorney, yeah. Okay. Well, we better take a commercial. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it better? Yes, it is better.
Okay, we better take a commercial break. We're here with Dr. Fred Whitehurst, former FBI. He's a whistleblower, worked on some of the biggest cases out there, Oklahoma City bombing, TWA 800, O.J. Simpson case, Waco, and became a whistleblower, sued the FBI, and collected, I believe it was $1.5 million? $1.25 million. $1.25 million. A quarter here, quarter there. It all works out. Okay, we'll be back right after this message with more of Dr. Fred Whitehurst. And now a word from our sponsors. Pacific West Bamboo, your premier source for sustainable building material. They provide construction-grade and craft-grade bamboo material for all your indoor, outdoor, and gardening needs. Contact them for event planning and display building as well. 503-839-8126. Or you go to their new website, pacificwestbamboo.com. Or you can contact them on Facebook at Pacific West Bamboo. That's 503-839-8126. Amanda from Pacific West Bamboo was our first sponsor. She's been so good to us, so please support her in return. I want to make everybody aware of our new members section at www.oppermanreport.com. You can go there and sign up for a monthly, quarterly, or yearly subscription. You can even purchase episodes one by one. You get full access to brand new original content, new guests, new uncensored interviews, my own investigations and reports, and we're going to be adding sections with documents, images, police reports, either provided by myself or by my guests, or for my own investigations, my own reports. So you can go to oppermanreport.com and you can sign up there tonight. You can start listening tonight. Strawman. I want to mention Strawman. Strawman is a band out of Toronto, Canada. They're good friends of the Opperman Report. They're a trio of guys who share the same mindset most of us here do, and they put that energy into their words and music. So check them out at strawmanmusic.com and drop them a line to let them know that you heard them here on the Opperman Report. We'll be doing an interview with Sean Duffy soon. You can get an autographed copy of my book, How to Succeed as a Private Investigator, by visiting my PI website, emailrevealer.com. We also offer a computer and cell phone forensics. We can recover deleted text messages to uncover infidelity. We offer asset searches, locates, email tracing, background reports, and we can even trace your spouse's email address back to internet dating websites to catch them cheating online. You can reach us at 800-572-9762, or you can email me at emailrevealer@aol.com. New World Mexican Women. Everyone loves the New World Mexican Women, and their line of fine, handcrafted, authentic Mexican jewelry of stone mosaic and abalone stone inlay. In their first book, titled New World Mexican Women, available on lulu.com, they teach you how to make this jewelry, and they have a collection of love letters to their men from their hometown that have immigrated to the United States to find work. They have also published a new book entitled Azuquina to the Rodeo. It's about a young girl that falls in love with a rodeo bull rider, and she runs away with him without telling her family. You can find the New World Mexican Women by Googling New World Mexican Women. And you can ask them about their deals on wholesaling their fine jewelry and all of the other projects that they have going on. If you'd like to have your business or website advertised here and promoted all over the world on dozens of stations every day, give us a call at 800-572-9762 or email oppermanreport@gmail.com. And now back to our show. So it's a really unique kind of gift that you can give at Christmas time. So check out their Facebook page at Michigan Mushroom or MichiganMushrooms.net if you want to place an order tonight. But tonight we have with us Dr. Fred Whitehurst. Dr. Whitehurst, have you ever tried chaga mushroom tea?
Nope, I'm afraid I haven't.
I'm going to see if I can get some over there to you, okay? Let's see what I can do. I know the guys that own the place. Okay, let's see if he gets us stuff. Now, tell us about some of these. What did you have to do with the OJ case?
Well, that was a mess. I was right in the middle of writing I wrote 237 letters to the U.S. Department of Justice Inspector General over a 5-year period of time. And right in the middle of that, I was down at Quantico at the research facility, and I was working on forensic pain analysis. And I went out to stand while the instrument was working, and 3 guys came up to me, and they were, mid-level scientific managers and agents, and they were commenting that a fellow testifying in the case, what he had said wasn't perjury, there was nothing like, it was an FBI employee. And so I said, well, you guys got to report perjury. And they say, no, we're not doing that. That'll ruin our career. So, no, you're supposed to. You don't have any choice. The director and the president have told us we have to report. Well, we're not going to report. So, oh, boy. Okay, well, I went back. I wrote it up. And then, here it is. These guys down there, I didn't see it. This is what they said. So, next thing I know, I'm in my attorney's office talking to him, because I had to hire attorneys, a law firm, to protect me from the FBI and whatever. And he picks up the phone, and he says, he's talking to some guy. He turns to me, puts his hand on it. He says, do you know who Barry Scheck is? And I went crazy. Of course, Barry Scheck was the Barry Scheck. Well, my attorney didn't know him. So he was telling the attorney we're supposed to show up at the O.J. Simpson trial bag and baggage in all the documents that we were supposed to take with us, that we had that could, and I had nothing to do with it. I didn't want to. I was already, devastating my family with the revelations we were coming up with. But I and 4 attorneys and 3 legal assistants went to the airport in the Baltimore, Washington, whatever it is, BWI airport, got on an airplane and flew out to the O.J. Simpson trial. And I went into a room with a whole bunch of people and sat down at a table, and they explained to them, okay, this is what I heard, this is what I know, this is what's wrong with that guy there, that this is why people think he did what he did, and, he's whatever. And so they housed me in the Bellage Hotel.
Oh, yeah, I've stayed there, yeah, very nice hotel.
Oh, my goodness. Well, but I couldn't, Johnny Cochran had called me as mystery witness. And so I couldn't leave my room because people just came up to me, and I was sitting in a room with my attorney, and I see this very lovely, I think it's a reporter or whatever, on television saying, I just came from an exclusive interview with Frederic Whitehurst, the whistleblower, and my attorney and I looked at each other and we've been sitting here for the last few hours. What is she talking about? But I just holed up there for, I guess, 6, 7, 8 days, and I finally went over to the trial. And on the way over there, it was wild because there were people completely all over the street, and it just, the whole place was just a mob, and there were people that were breaking away so I could go on through with my attorneys, and I got in, and then finally in the courthouse, and I was sitting outside, and I remember because I'm a guy that drives a pickup truck with crank-up windows in it. I'm not a microphone guy. I'm just, I live in a town of 1,600 people right now, and I'm sitting there, and there's nobody else outside the courtroom, and I'm by myself, and the door opens, and Johnny Cochran comes through the door, and he says, "Hey, Fred, how you doing?" I said, "Well, Johnny, I'm okay." And then he hit me like a load of bricks. I just called Johnny Cochran by his first name. Wow, that's crazy. But Judge Ito wouldn't let me testify, and thank goodness, because I was a nervous wreck at that time. And so I went home, and that was how I got involved in it. The fellow who was testifying, it was about ethylene diamine tetracetic acid, a preservative, on gloves, and what he was saying was malarkey, but it was not only malarkey, it was he hadn't done the research, and the guys down at Quantico, and they were angry that he was upstaging them and taking credit for work that he didn't do. And Judge Ito was right. That jury was exhausted, and what I had to tell them wasn't going to add anything to the picture. But what it did do was put me all over the national television. And I didn't ask for it. I came home from O.J. Simpson. FBI agents don't talk to the press. You do not talk to the media. You don't talk to Russians or communists or folks like that either. You're okay, but you don't talk to the media. And I was called into my boss's boss office one day, very shortly after that, and he said, ABC News wants to talk to you. And I said, well, I'm not talking to them. And he said, they want to talk to you. And management says, you got to talk to them. Okay. Okay, well, you ordered me. I'll go talk to them then. But that was the O.J. Simpson thing.
But specifically, it was that the prosecution witness testified that chemical was found in laundry detergent and all kinds of stuff like that, right? Was that it?
However the testimony went, finding it was not relevant. The amount that was present was relevant. And the fact that he had done the research was not, that was what was angering the people at Quantico. They did the research. It was their work, and he picked it up, carried it downtown, did a few, puffs of smoke in the air, and then said, well, this is what I've shown. And those people, if you think a man is committing perjury and you're in the FBI, you're required to say something. But they knew what was going to happen to them because the FBI has a set of rules that are totally, completely irrelevant next to the main rule. And the main rule is, thou shalt not embarrass the FBI. And I heard that again and again and again and again in the FBI. National security is not as important as embarrassing the FBI. Death penalty sentences and executions are not as important as embarrassing the FBI. Nothing in the world is important as embarrassing the FBI, period. Period. That was just, and so they couldn't very well. Everybody knows it. There's not a book there that says that, because then it would get under Freedom of Information Act, somebody get it. But that's so foolish that, we can't learn as a nation from our mistakes. The FBI is not a nation in and unto itself. It's a servant of the people. Whether they call themselves the seat of all government or not, they are a servant of the people. They're paid by the people, and we should know when they're making mistakes. That we should be able to, as a people, correct them. But no, anyhow, those boys couldn't reveal what was going on. Well, I could, because I had orders, like everybody else did. Anyhow, that's my O.J. Simpson story.
Well, knowing what you know, we have a lot in common, both states of Bellagio. La Bellage, it's called. La Bellage on Sunset Strip. It's right across the street from Whiskey A Go-Go. Did you hit the Whiskey A Go-Go or any of those places, the Rainbow? Probably not, right?
No.
Okay, yeah, those are like heavy metal places back in those days. But now, knowing what you know about the O.J. case, though, and about that chemical and the quantity of those LLC,
you cannot trust. I went into a courtroom one time and I told the judge, Your Honor, in order to have an assault, somebody's got to assault somebody. In order to prove an assault, you've got to have one credible witness at least. We've had 4 credible witnesses, including my client, and none of them have any credibility at all, period. And therefore, you can't prove assault. And that judge looked at me and said, You're right. You're right, Mr. Whitehurst. I don't find guilt here. So those people on that jury did exactly what they felt they should do.
Yeah.
We're not going to follow people that we know are lying.
Very good. I tell you, if I ever get into trouble in North Carolina, you're the man I'm coming to.
No, I'm a really bad attorney. I'm no good at it.
Yeah, I think I could trust you, though. There's a lot of stuff about you I like, my friend. Now, I guess TWA 800, was that one of your cases? I
know about TWA 800. In fact, there's a film out there by Christina Borgeson that's about the TWA 800. It's a phenomenal. I'm trying to find the title of it. It's a phenomenal documentary. And they just went out and interviewed a whole bunch of people. I was not. By that time, they didn't want me out of the building. So I didn't go there, but I was hearing the ramifications of what was happening at the crime scene. People were furious that the fixers out there were trying to fix things and screwing the crime scene up.
Yeah, my ex-partner was NYPD Harbor Aviation. And all those guys in NYPD Harbor Aviation, they were all at my wedding. I was at their wedding, I know all these guys. And the story that I heard was that it had to be a missile, and that it probably came from a Naval National Guard, Naval National Guard ship. What do you hear?
Well, what I hear is what I heard from the people that were putting together Christina Borgeson's documentary, that some over 200 people saw a missile.
Yeah.
And a helicopter pilot 2 miles away, who had been a Vietnam helicopter pilot in the air, saw a missile. And that's what I hear. But I wasn't there. I know that the issues that they had on the ground where they had to deal with a special agent in charge or a deputy assistant director or whatever who had his opinion about what it was and needed his opinion to be what it had to be. And some of the scientists were telling him, well, there's problems with what you're saying here. And when I know that in being part of that film, I was interviewed for it and I watched the research of the TWA 800 film, I know that they interviewed those people, and finally the government's position was something effective mass hysteria or something. If you get 250 people and see a missile, and then you don't want there to be a missile, well, I guess what you do is, it's like we hear those stories in the Soviet Union where the boss is coming through and all the trees are dead, so you get green paint, and for miles and miles on the side of the road, you paint the trees, okay? If you don't want missiles, then you say, well, everybody that saw that, somehow or another, at that point they saw it, had a psychiatric break or something like that. And you know that because why? And if it was, if they were missiles, if whatever it was that did that, if it was a government mistake, it'll come out, but it'll come out long after you and I pass away.
Yeah, I agree with you, because these guys are all afraid to talk, too.
Well,
you were telling me before we came on the air that you keep a piece of molten steel from the Waco compound, where these people and these children and these families were all burned alive. Can you tell us about your involvement in that case and what your conclusions are?
I was on the way back from the World Trade Center bombing, the one that happened in the early 90s, when we got a word, my partner and I, to drive on past. We dropped the vehicle that we were in and drive on out to Waco, and as we got closer to D.C., they said, belay that, we got some other people going out. I wasn't at Waco. I know a few years later that I was hired in 1998 in Texas. We looked at every piece of evidence there. We were there with the Texas Rangers took us in. And I think, I think I probably stand where most of the nation stand. There was a mature way to handle that, and the way it was handled with Koresh. If they were going after him, they could have got him while he was jogging down the road. They could have got him when he was at the hardware store in town. They could have, picked him up. I understand that, a 50 cal round went through a government helicopter, so it wasn't like they were sitting underneath there not doing anything about what they perceived to be an attack. But, when I was at the site the site was closed. I mean, it was, the Branch Davidians invited us in. But I picked up a piece of molten metal at the site where the bunker itself burned up, and why there was a hole blown in the top of it, I don't know that. It looked like something a shape charge would put in it. But those people should have been safe in that bunker, and they were just burned alive. And I think telling that story, if you go to Google Waco, a new revelation, that pretty much says that's the information that was gathered, that we were able to gather.
Gotcha. And what kind of work did you do on the first World Trade Center bombing? I think it was 93, right? Or 90? Yeah, 93.
Yeah, I was in law school at the time, and I was in my first year of law school, and I was printing out an appellate brief, a practice appellate brief, when the security came in and they said, you're wanted at FBI headquarters. And we got back to headquarters, and somebody said they thought a transformer might have blown, but they needed us up there in case it was a terrorist attack. So me and my partner drove a whole bunch of equipment up to the site, set up a laboratory in the New York City Police Department Academy, built a whole crime lab, brought in vendors with their equipment, spent $250,000 on different equipment, brought it in, set it up. We went into the scene inside was surreal. There were cars, alarms going off. There were fires here and there. There were chunks of concrete just falling. In fact, we went into a room where 45 minutes after we walked out, the whole ceiling just went. And if we'd have been in there when it went, they wouldn't have found us, but they'd have just mashed us flat. But we collected evidence trying to find out what type of explosive had gone off. And we collected evidence in other places, and so to see what was it that set it off, why had it set off.